Welcome to the Wellther series. This is number 2 of 3 with Dr. Dorothy. And we were chatting about natural gift as a flowing out of owning at leadership and authenticity. And the natural gift was such a valuable element of the first one. And I know that natural gift comes from a place of presence. And while we may not have talked about it in the first one, I think it's worth having a look at presence and how you might see presence and where does that understanding of presence come from into your life at this point?
It's really was consciously chosen. It was a consciously chosen act to be physically present. I grew up in a home that was extremely violent. And my dad was an Irish alcoholic cop in the housing projects of the inner city in South Boston. And we were either whipped or beaten or whatever every single day. If you didn't do anything wrong, it was to remind you who was the boss so you would do nothing wrong tomorrow. So the violence in the home was horrific. I was the oldest girl. I was in the line of all of that. I was adopted in, but I was the oldest girl in that series. I had an older brother. And I was so filled with terror for most of those years and stayed present because my job, if you will, my desire was to protect all of my brothers and sisters and my mother. So it was almost like being invisible to me because it was really consciously looking at the outside, watching the outside, making sure the condition was as good as it possibly could be to perhaps minimize the danger that night, to see what I could do. And eventually, I didn't know if I would make it out alive or make it out sane, and I did. I was blessed. And I made it out, and I ended up trying to go to college, couldn't. Try to go to nursing school, couldn't, because when I applied to nursing school, I had great grades. But they had told me I went to an unaccredited inner city high school, so therefore I could go to no nursing school in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So nursing school was out, and college was certainly out. And my only objective then was to get married as soon as I graduated from high school and have 10 or 20 children and grow up, have my children grow up in the housing projects as well. And yet I wanted out. I wanted more. And so I decided at one point, to make a long story short, to not get married, to become a Catholic nun, and then realized the community I applied to wouldn't accept me because the Catholic Church didn't allow illegitimate children in the convent. And so that door was closed as well. Finally, through interventions by people I knew, they found a community in Quebec that worked with prostitutes that said they would take a risk on an illegitimate child. And because my main objective was getting out of the housing projects, getting out of the violence, getting away from the poverty, and my desire was to give back. My desire was to make this world a better place. My desire was to end the conditioning of women and children living in such brutal environments, as well as to support men in realizing they had options other than what they knew of, what they grew up with, and what they perpetuated in their own families. So I wanted to make the world a better place from very, very young. And once I entered religious life, amazingly, I learned the dramatic difference between spirituality and religion.
Yes.
And the community I lived with, we officially spoke 1 hour a day. If somebody spoke to you outside and you saw a lay person, a non-religious person, and they spoke to you, you certainly spoke back to them. But in our community, we spoke 1 hour a day. And what I discovered in the silence was a sense of self that I never knew existed. What I discovered in the safety at night, there was no screaming, there was no yelling outside, there was no abuse coming in from outside, there were no sirens, there was nothing, there was just pure silence. That I was finally physically safe, so I could look at the emotional and the spiritual realms, which never crossed my mind because physical safety had been for myself and others, had been my main driving force. And so within the gift of religious life was the ability to sit in the silence and to recognize really all of the beauty of every one of us. Yes, of myself, but of so many others and those sisters that when we did speak, I could speak to and learn about. And it was a gift I've never, ever lost value in. It's a gift that I practice as a way of life now. And so the silence and discovering that there is a self I never knew was there. There were emotional reactions or responses that I never knew existed. That because now I could experience myself. And eventually I ended up leaving religious life. I moved to Manhattan, became an international airline stewardess, flew over 1 million miles. And because I wanted to experience the world, I wanted to see what did I miss in those walls where we had no TV, no radio, no newspapers, no magazines. What had I missed all those years I was inside? So I then discovered the exquisiteness of people from so many different countries. I became an international airline stewardess. And so I traveled to so many different countries and really was blessed to be able to experience people from so many cultures, from so many nationalities, from so many religions, and saw the beauty in all of it and saw the gift of all of it. So for me, to understand the beliefs that they tried to impose on me as a child that I knew were wrong, that the only good people were the Irish people from South Boston, the only holy people were the Catholics who were Irish from South Boston. And even then, this makes no sense to me. That as an adult, I could begin to see that so many of us are told stories that we somehow accept as truth because we've never had the gift of having those stories challenged. We've never had the gift of being exposed to so many other realities that were so glorious that we never even knew about. And it just led me on a path of continuously evolving, continuously living a life of personal growth, a life of awareness, and always longing to recognize if anything I say or believe, is this a story or is this a truth? You know, what is this about for me? And so as I work with my clients, it's always been the same. What are the stories they tell themselves that they were told or that they made up, that they use to define the world in a way that keeps them from truly seeing what is, because they believe a story that's been created. So my attempt to teach emotional intelligence has been a huge part of my work. I taught in medical school for a number of years as a clinical instructor. I taught in graduate school for people who are becoming licensed as marriage and family therapists. And when I was in private practice as a therapist, I was seeing 42 patients a week. But I also, in that point, about 3 years in, became bored and said, I want to do something in addition to this. And I opened up a school, the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences, where I had created a method of energy medicine that was based on the psychological and spiritual causes of physical illness and looking at the interplay of energetics and our spiritual beliefs that defines our emotional reactions to those. If life is horrible and then you die, you're going to either develop an emotional reaction of anger or depression, which is then going to create physiological disorders, versus a spiritual belief that says life is a gift and I'm so blessed to be here. That keeps everything in you flowing energetically, and that those spiritual beliefs support emotional health because you're not in defense. You're not waiting for the enemy to take you. You're recognizing all of this as a gift. And so physically, you have your health. So with all of that, I moved into really looking at the interplay of energetics and emotional and spiritual connections and the causes on physical health. So as I've worked with people over the years as clients in coaching, as patients in my practice, as my students I had in my school, it was a 4-year program in energy medicine, teaching physicians, nurses, occupational therapists, massage therapists, as well as numerous lay people, lawyers, bankers, carpenters, housewives, any number of folks. Always 50% of my program was on personal growth, on recognizing your own defenses, your own wounds, the masks you wear, the stories you tell yourself, because I don't believe you could be a healer until you've done your own healing. I mean, we're never done, but unless you truly, with great depth, begun the process of your own healing, how could you bring healing to anybody else? All right. So that's been really much of my entire life is supporting people based on my experience. And I think much of what we bring, the gift of the journey we walk, is in the dreams we continuously unfold, is that if we choose, we learn from every one of those dreams. We learn from every time we take a risk. We learn every time we take a major leap to grow. We discover so much more. And if we practice emotional intelligence, if we develop our emotional intelligence, and we practice prayer or mindfulness or meditation, whatever the word is irrelevant to me, we take in the quiet, again, my gift of the quiet, and we integrate all of the experiences we have that day or that week. We integrate them and create great wisdom. And that becomes more and more of the gift of who we are and the gift we have to bring to the world around us.
And thank you for that, because, you know, there's some great timelines there and insights that brings up even authenticity and presence. But it's sort of what struck me was, and being a writer, I would be going, emotions, the natural gift. Mm-hmm. And can you just speak to what might that article contain if you were to write it, you know, emotions, the natural gift? What would you put in that?
Our emotions are the gift that allow us to experience our passion. They're the gift that allow us to experience awe. They open up opportunities. People connected to their emotions. And I'm not saying lost in their emotions. That's another defense and another whole issue. But people who allow themselves to experience their emotions, the richness of life is there. The richness in life, if you've been to some of the vineyards of Italy and you just look over in miles of vineyard and olive trees and the smells and the joy and the voices and all of those things in the vineyards, it's just, you're caught in this experience. Your emotions, it fills your whole body with this experience. You look at a newborn baby. What emotions come when you think of the exquisite innocence of this creature that we've been blessed with, that has become a part of our world. And I don't care if it's a stranger and a child I see as I'm walking in another country. What a gift, because I believe we're all in this together. What a gift. We have one more blessed gift on our planet. And those emotions create a day. Your entire day is filled with joy and awe and wonder because you allowed yourself to experience the emotions of watching this exquisite new creature on the planet. That our emotions give the richness of life. They give us us. They let us know who we are. They let us know how we experience the world. They also let us know what we want to avoid. You know, they let us know that doesn't feel good to me. I love movies, but I am not one that's going to sit and watch some horror movie or watch a movie where people are being blown apart into many pieces and know what that does to me emotionally. I don't want to go there. If I ever have to survive those things again, I will survive those things again. But I don't want to intentionally bring that experience into my body and into my life. So having that emotional intelligence, knowing what those things do for me or to me, I have the ability, because of my emotions, to choose what my life experiences are going to be for the most part and how I'm going to experience those experiences. You know, I have an exercise I do in the morning in my morning meditation when I wake up is, how did I wake up? Did I wake up depressed? Did I wake up unhappy? Did I wake up filled with excitement and anxious to get out of bed because there's something really wildly exciting happening today? Did I wake up feeling at peace? did I wake up feeling gifted? How did I wake up today? And if it's an emotion I don't want to carry through my day, I woke up feeling frightened because of some dream or something that happened during the dream hours. I don't want to be in that place. So I'm going to sit, look at what that's about for me. What can I learn from that, if anything? And if I can learn what I need to learn from that and either make changes or let that go, depending on what that is about. And then as I look and look over my day, what's on my day today, today I want to be filled with joy. Today I want to be filled with wisdom. Today I want to be in a place of acceptance. And so before I get out of bed, I've understood where I woke up from and either carry that with me out of bed or transition from that into a place where I want to be as I get out of bed, because my emotions are a choice. They are a choice as to, it's not a choice as to what comes up, but it's a choice as to what I hold on to and live with.
So I think with the third one that we're going to go into, I think there would be a really great segue about emotions and leading. Because we talk about EI, right, EQ, and link it to leading. But I think you've got something to offer us that would be really great, because you've shared stories that have that personal life. And if we go into the third one, why don't we take a look at the business and leadership and emotions and see what that might unpack for us? How does that sound?
I'd love it. Sure. Okay. I'm always wide open for new experience.
But just before we go, you gave us a really great little activity to do when you wake up.
Right.
But if you were to give that one nugget right now and linking it to what it is we've just shared, that would spring someone forward into being natural, what would that nugget be?
Taking the time to discover what you truly feel, what emotions are truly present, allows you to far more authentically be present in every experience you're living, with every person you're in relationship with, even if for 5 minutes. You know, there are people we meet in the grocery store. You know, what are you feeling? And you can put on a mask and be who you think you're supposed to be. But if you're really connected to who you are and what you're feeling at that moment, that's a gift you give to yourself as well as to everybody you meet. And my experience is that when you're that present and that authentic, you call out of the person you're meeting in the aisle their authenticity and their presence.
And that makes for such a great little connection and conversation, right?
Phenomenal. And that may be the gift you've given them for the day that they didn't even know they needed. But you gave them a gift because there's nobody else in their life that day, or there's nobody in their life that day that's present. And you gave them a richness.
Oh, yeah, I know. And what you're bringing up is it actually happened to me probably a couple of weeks ago. She was coming at me, I was coming at her. We smiled and we had a quick little conversation. You know, I can't remember what food it was. But what was fantastic was we happened to go down and then come back up the next aisle. And I have not seen a smile like that, right, in a grocery store in a long time. So I get what you're talking about. It's like, thank you for that gift of that smile.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just wonderful.
Yeah. And the gift you gave her to make her smile that way, you know? So both of you won. That's back to what we were saying either in this one or the last one, where when you give, you receive.
Yes.
And when you receive, you're giving to them the gift of receiving. It's everybody's winning. Yeah. It's so easy for everybody to win. It dumbfounds me, the investment we have and having others lose.
Yeah.
Because the gift of winning is so natural. The gift of sharing and giving is so natural. Why do we go against our nature in order to prove a point that isn't a truth anyway?
Yeah.
you know.
Well, then let's pick this up on the next one, because we have the 3 of 3 that's going to happen, folks. And
Yes.
we'll take a look at emotions and leading and see where we go with that. But thank you again for sharing. I appreciate it so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Okay.